Today, we are talking to Gianmarco, an Amazon seller who hit an impressive 4 million in sales last year and is now on his way to grow by another 2 to 3 million in the next 12 months. We are going to learn how he transitioned from doing everything himself to building a specialized team, why hiring low-level VAs didn't work for him, and how he hires top talent. We will also talk about his process for creating efficient systems and SOPs to streamline operations, freeing up his time so he can focus on high-level strategy and product development. This conversation is packed with value, so let's dive in. So last year you hit well over 4 million in revenue, and this year we want to add another 2 to 3 million in revenue. So what is the plan that will get you there in the next 12 months?
So basically, we'll focus on our main growth drivers that we identified. So the growth drivers for our business will be mostly product development. So that's where we're going to hire one more person, specifically product development manager that will work on scaling our efforts of product development, launching many more products, launching also more complex products, because so far we have been launching more like products that may be built by the factories, but with our packaging, small modifications. So that's a big part of our growth plan, is to scale our efforts in terms of product development. The second one will be to consolidate our global expansion, both in terms of marketplaces and geographies. So we want to launch our full catalog in all over the world, essentially in as many countries as possible, maximizing Europe and other Amazon countries, as well as maximizing our potential in other marketplaces like Walmart and Faire. Faire, especially, it's a B2B marketplace, so we'll have a dedicated person on the B2B side of things, where we also see as a growth driver, but that's more like a long-term type of metric you want to measure. Like retail will be more a long-term game. But especially for the next year, we will probably get most of our growth from product development and scaling our operations globally and across multiple marketplaces.
So nowadays you have a great team behind you, but I assume it wasn't always like that, right? At one point you were running your business on your own, and I know a lot of people actually struggle to make that transition, that shift. So when did you realize you actually need to bring more people on board to even reach 7 figures and get to where you are right now?
Yeah, so I realized it from my my mindset of emulating people who are doing better than me has always driven me to make changes in my business and my life also in general. I think I realized it once I've been learning that everybody else who was better than me at managing an Amazon business was hiring people. So I said, that's what I should be doing as well. And so this has started actually quite soon. Maybe only the first year I've been on my own, but I started experimenting with hiring people like as soon as the second year. And now, right now, I'm at my sixth or seventh year in terms of Amazon. But in terms of e-commerce, I started even earlier than that, and that's when I started employing interns, at that time. So actually, in my very first business, I had the luck to be invested by a VC fund. It was a tech startup. So basically, the VC fund kind of forced us to hire people as soon as possible. So I was lucky to have experienced that in the very beginning. That's why when I started the business on Amazon, as soon as possible, I started hiring some people.
So did it feel natural to just let go and hand over the accountability to someone else, even though it was your business, your baby? Often people are scared to hand over to someone else. So letting go was natural to you?
I wouldn't say really natural, because you're always kind of worried about how people perform. However, to me, it was more like there was a higher goal that was driving me. So I knew that I must be a great leader, and I must be good at delegating in order to succeed. So even though the pain of letting things go to other people was there, uh, the pain of not being successful was even higher. So
Mhm.
I always thought, I have to master the delegation skill and the hiring skill, otherwise I will never go anywhere. So I never really struggled really with that, because my fear of not succeeding has been, much higher than anything else.
So, what was the first big hire you brought into your team?
I've experimenting a lot in terms of hiring, and I let go a lot of people in during the years. Although in my current team, uh, one person has been with me for 3 years, another one for 4. So it's already more consolidated now. In the beginning, I was focused on hiring VAs, and I kind of regret that, in a sense, because, or maybe at that time, or let's say 5 years ago, that was the strategy. Which I don't think it is anymore. Years ago, I think the strategy was like maybe a smart founder driving a horde of VAs, and that's not the case anymore. That's not how the business works anymore. And now you need specialists, people who really knows what to do at their job, and knows even better than you how to uh, do the tasks that you want them to do. So in the beginning, yes, I've hired lots of VAs. So I try to teach them what to do, how to do it, but it didn't really work out. So the best first hires have been, like skilled PPC managers, for example, people who knew better than me how to manage PPC. And from there on, I kept hiring people who I believe that knows very well what they're doing, so that I freed up my time. One of the best hire has been like my designer, for example. Of course, I could never do designs at her level. So that's how I started, and then I kept growing more and more with focusing on quality, rather than saving costs, hiring like low skilled people.
Mhm. You mentioned hiring specialists. So, how do you identify the talent? Because I know you're hiring remotely, so you probably have a lot of candidates. So, how do you filter them out?
So my hiring process has been developing over time. That's one process that I spend a lot of time on, to refine. So in the very beginning, I was doing it very manually. Just myself writing the job description and putting it out in several job sites, and getting those candidates in and evaluating them, evaluating their CV essentially. Later on, I developed also the like more automations in this whole process through coding, and like an Airtable system that at some point I even was selling it as a kind of a SaaS tool at some point as an experiment. So that included lots of more automation. So it allowed me to evaluate way more candidates at the same time, which I think it's a very crucial part of hiring. Getting way more candidates. You want to see as many candidates as possible, so that you can be very very picky on what you see and who to choose. And the breakthrough came when I started adding the skill tests. So basically, I'm talking about giving people a kind of a questionnaire, where I'm asking them to complete some tasks that resemble the tasks that they will actually perform once hired. Okay, so that really on its own, it's a game changer. I really recommend everybody to insert a skill test in their hiring process, because when you just see the CVs, you cannot really understand anything about the candidate, not so much. And even during the interview, it's hard to pick up the right skills, just from a one-to-one chat, face-to-face chat. So the skill test, it's a game changer, because you immediately see from the results what their skills are. Even the way they format the text, even the way they show you, like some people maybe give you a Word document, some people give you like an Excel sheet, some people give you a PPT presentation. So from that, from the way they present it and how professionally they perform the test, you understand, if they're a good fit for your job or not.
Yeah, exactly. I often say that the way they present the results matters as much as the results themselves, right? As you exactly said, like how they communicate, like do they deliver on time? So I definitely agree with that. It seems that delegation is crucial for your business. So how do you decide which tasks to delegate and which you still handle personally?
Yeah, so most of the time I try to see at what I'm doing, what I'm currently doing. So I perform a kind of a time tracking test, on my own time. So I just look back at the past week, for example, what task I've done, and then I try to pick categories of tasks. So certain tasks fall into specific categories based on their department, the department they belong to. For example, logistics and shipments, for example. That's a broad category that includes a lot of different tasks, so that you might perform on your own in the beginning, for example. But this whole set of tasks can be done by one person with certain skills, and so on and so forth. So I identify batches of tasks that I'm doing, and I can see that this batch of tasks can be performed by a person that is, for example, expert in supply chain, or for example, a person that is expert in customer service can do this other batch of tasks, and so on and so forth. I normally also try to delegate first, or at least in the beginning. Now it's already been delegated, but in the beginning I was trying to find the tasks that took me the most time, and also that were most frequent. So basically, that were taking me a lot of time, and they were like periodical tasks, not just a one-off thing. So all these taking off from your plate, this kind of recurring tasks, it's where everything starts. And in especially on Amazon, we're talking about everything related to seller central management. There is lots and lots of small tasks that might take you a few minutes, that added up together, it's a full-time job for somebody. And it will take off from your plate maybe, I don't know, between 10 and 20 hours per week, and which is a game changer, obviously, if you free up your time of that much amount of time. So
So it looks like you want to delegate more and more stuff, take more and more stuff off your plate. But where are you trying to get? Like, what would be the ideal role for you in the business eventually?
well, of course, I'm trying to create a situation in which I'm more focused on driving the business in terms of being the main decision maker in not the main strategist, let's say. So the one guiding the strategy and the direction of the business, and doing business development mostly. So like opening up the opportunities for the team to grow. So like opening up opportunities, like for example, evaluating to start selling on Walmart, for example. Once I do that kind of study and analysis, then the team can work on it in the day-to-day operation. So opening up doors, essentially, that's where I see myself, being involved too, and that's what I enjoy the most. I think I will always have also a significant role in terms of product development, because in our kind of business, in an Amazon business, the product, it's really like at least maybe 50 or 60% of the success. So if you have a very good product that has good quality, will inherently receive good reviews, and if you pick the right niche, it just can almost grow on its own, actually, when you do lots of other things right. So I think, yeah, I see myself as being the guide and the mentor of the team, and being very involved into creating more and more unique and unique and more complex products.
Mhm. You mentioned that you kind of regret hiring low-level VAs without any expertise. So, are there any other stories or cases where hiring or delegation went wrong for you?
Yeah, well, my very first experience when I was in my startup, I was 24. It was my first company, and I did all the mistakes that you can think of. And at that point, I had at some point I had maybe 8 interns. So that was a nightmare, because interns are like school, like
Mhm.
university people, like the students that really know nothing, and they were guided by a 24 years old that knew nothing as well. So so it was a total mess, absolutely a mess. So that's my one of the biggest failure, of course, but I didn't know what the what the business was at that time. And more recently, I've been hiring the wrong people, in terms of like placing them in the wrong, giving them the wrong tasks, delegating in the wrong way. Mostly, I think it's I don't want to blame at all any one of these people. It was actually the lack of my ability to delegate properly. So now I have much more success in hiring people and delegating, just because I know much better how to assign tasks to them, and how to deal with them, how to lead them. So it was entirely my fault. Every bad situation I've encountered, it was entirely due to my lack of expertise. And now I still make mistakes, but I hope I mean, I've learned from those, for sure.
Mhm. So, what is the current structure of your team? How many employees and what are their roles?
So we're now 6. There are two designers. So 6 people, including myself. So 2 designers, 1 PPC manager, and 1 brand manager, and let's say like a general assistant that covers lots of the operations. So has her hands in several different processes. But essentially that's it. And even one of the designer, it's part-time. But everybody else, so let's say 5 full-time people and 1 part-time.
Mhm. From your podcast, I know that you are also systems guy. So, how do you approach systemizing your business and building the processes that make it even possible to manage 5 employees at the same time?
Yeah, so over time we've built quite extensive folder with several different SOPs, process maps, and so on. So we try to every time we master a process, we try to write it down and put it into an SOP. Um, However, even though I am kind of known, so to speak, let's say through my podcast, for being the person involved into systems and processes, however, I'm not that keen to create continuously SOPs, because it can also go on the opposite way. To
Mhm.
you can do too much sometimes, and I do know some people, because I've done also some consulting through my podcast, and I know some people that were even more advanced, let's say, in a way, into creating SOPs, and they were asking me for my consultation to create even more, even a more and stronger structure. And it doesn't make sense if you're a small business that makes a few $1,000,000. It doesn't make sense that you have so much structure in your and so complex SOP. So I try to make it as lean as possible. Most of my SOPs have been created in the same time that the need for delegation has come. So, for example, whenever I needed to, let's say, for example, recently we're using some affiliate marketing platforms, like, for example, Levanta and others, several others. And in order to manage those platforms, we need to do certain operations. And I am the one doing it for the first time. I'm actually uh, experiencing how the process works for the first time. And when I'm doing it for the first time, when I fully understand what needs to be done, I record a video, and that goes through like what I do, and then I save this video, and that's our SOP video on how to do that task. So imagine doing this for years on all kinds of processes. And basically, you just have your folder with hundreds of SOPs that came out from just your regular operation. You don't need to spend extra time on that. So it can be an easy process to create SOPs, actually.
I often see people with this idea that they can take this low level VA and turn them into superstar by creating dozens and dozens of SOPs for them and basically creating every step for them. But that I found that it rarely ever works, right? And then when you
Mm,
have the specialist, as you said, they don't need these detailed SOPs in the first place. So I
yeah.
think that we are all guilty of that, this idea that you can take someone without experience and turn them into a superstar. So
Yes.
I'm curious, what does your typical day look for you right now compared to when you first started?
Yeah, so now my days have a lot more feedback. Like it's a lot of my time. It's based on sharing feedback with my team, for example, a lot more than before. Before it was just me working, right, and doing stuff. Now, a part of that, there's obviously still a significant part it's doing, like still operations, different kind of operation, but let's say more high level. I don't do the day to day anymore, but I still do lots of operation in terms of growth, like working on the growth drivers and business development, like I mentioned before. So now, a lot of my time is spent, for example, on Asana, which is our project management tool, and where I see my team, asking me for feedback, or just showing me what they've accomplished during the day. And sometimes doesn't need any feedback. Sometimes I give my inputs, or share, or maybe for example, working with graphic designs. I share my inputs on what can be changed, done differently, and so on and so forth. So some people are totally independent, actually, so I never really need to share any feedback. And every once in a while I just do a double check just to see if things are going well. But most of them are actually, all of them are very independent now. But my input, it's required on an ongoing basis to make sure that things goes on smoothly.
hmm It sounds like you have a great team. Where did you hire them? Which platforms did you use, or did you work with an agency to help you find them?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I think my hiring process has developed quite significantly over time. So in the beginning, it was just me looking at job description, like sending out job descriptions in the popular platforms, like Upwork or Online Jobs.ph, or there's several others. And that's I think, still okay. if you're looking for entry level positions, so like a general assistant, definitely it's a good way to find it. Or if you're looking for freelancers, like project based type of tasks. But if you're looking for a full-time person, my strategy has changed in the past year, especially. Now I mostly hire through headhunting companies, because headhunting companies, for those who don't know, are companies that go to find people who are already working in some company that can match your job description, and they give them a better offer to jump in
Mhm.
with your company. So so the problem is that the best people are never really looking for a job because they are already employed. So it's very hard to find the best talents if you are simply sending out a job description, because they are never really looking for a job. So you need to pick them from like other agencies or other Amazon businesses. You have to basically steal them from other businesses and try to give them a better offer to come in your company. So I found much more success doing that. So I found my PPC manager and the brand manager comes from a headhunting company. So they were working in another agency or Amazon business before, and they liked my brand better, and they came with me. And I'm also now in the process of hiring a product development manager, also through a headhunting company. So that's my strategy for now.
Amazing. We've covered a lot of stuff, but what advice would you give to someone who's maybe watching this and they feel a bit overwhelmed? They're running their business alone, maybe they have the one VA, and they want to get to a place where you are right now. So, what steps they should take to actually go through this transition?
I would say just get educated as soon as possible. Like just start to learn, as much as possible. For example, that's what I've done. When I realized that I must be hiring a team like the other big guys were doing. So I've read lots of books, like for example, Clockwork or Traction, or I don't know if the camera can see it behind me. 10x, what is it called? 10x easier than 2x. So books like this that teach you how to delegate, how to be a leader, a better leader, how to create a team, and you also can learn a lot from online search. There's lots of courses and free stuff, blogs, and so on, articles out there online. And then just jump. I would say just hire. For make your first hire, because it's more scary. The thought, it's more scary than it actually is in reality. So, and also you want to shorten that learning curve as much as possible. And the only way to go through the learning curve is to actually hire your first person and experience what it looks like. So I would say don't postpone it. Just hire your first person as soon as possible, so that you make those initial mistakes that you must have in your CVs. Let's say, like, everybody have their like hiring mistakes in their experience. So just make those mistakes as soon as possible, so that you learn from it, you experience it, and then you can find the right team for you to help you scale your business.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you very much, Michal. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you again.
Well, and that's a wrap. If you want my one on one help to systemize your Amazon business and build the right team, make sure to check out the link in the description. Our next video is all about planning. I share my full framework and help you implement a proper planning system into your business. I will see you there. Bye.